Hi everyone, welcome to An Hour with LawSikho. Today we have Advocate Pooja Gupta with us, who is a graduate of ILS Pune and currently she is at Advaita Legal as an advocate. Before this, she has also worked in-house with Vedanta Group. And today we are going to discuss the experience of shifting, how law firm work compares with working as an in-house counsel. And we are going to ask her a lot of questions about the experience of shifting, like what kind of changes happen when you shift from an in-house role to working in a law firm. So welcome, Pooja.
Hi Ramanuj, thank you so much for having me here.
Before we go much more deeper in the subject, can you just tell us about the sort of work you do at Advaita and also what like your experience so far as a lawyer? You can give us a bit of details so that our viewers can understand. When you give various answers, they'll be able to understand and relate to you better.
Right. So at Advaita, as you have rightly pointed out, I'm working as an associate with the contracts, infrastructure, and projects team. So, as an infrastructure and projects lawyer, my work is varied. The best part about becoming an infrastructure lawyer is that we are not confined to one particular statute, unlike a corporate lawyer or a taxation lawyer. As an infrastructure lawyer, I am. We've dealt with the Railways Act, with the Major Port Trust Act, with the MMDR Act, and have we've provided advice in relation to preparation of bid documents, concession agreements for the implementation of the smart city plans, and it's actually a matter of privilege that having associated with Advaita, we work with some of the government projects we keep hearing about, and which is making a difference in the country, such as the smart cities or the Sagarmala project, or preparation for the coal block auction, and so on and so forth.
Okay. So, tell us a little bit about this kind of work. This is essentially like when you are working on bid documents and concession agreements. What's the kind of legal skill, or what are you actually trying to do for your clients, and what does the work involve in? Like, I'm asking this question. I'm going to
Right,
qualify this further.
right,
So, what happens that when we know that what a M&A lawyer does, right?
right,
A merger and acquisition lawyer is going to negotiate a merger or acquisition and going to work on the legal document,
right,
which is shareholder agreement and share purchase
right.
agreement.
Hmm.
Sometimes help with some compliances, the RBI or state university, like that. So
Right,
what do you do? Like this is a projects practice essentially.
right.
In
So,
law, we call it projects practice, right? So what
right,
do you?
right, right.
Hmm. Okay.
So I think, as if I mean, if you've been assigned the task of reviewing bid documents or preparation of concession agreements, the basic requirement is that you should have a strong knowledge and grasp of the Contracts Act, because most of the obligations flow and emanate from there, and it's interesting to the effect that it's very logical, and because you have certain events, how concession and a pre-bid, how concession and bid documents flow. It could be a single stage process, it could be a dual stage process. Then there are certain parameters which are to be fulfilled before a project achieves COD. So I think a strong grasp of the Contracts Act, and obviously these documents are very voluminous in nature. So I mean, a strong grasp of law is one thing, but having patience and perseverance to sit through the night and review the documents is also required, because with transactions they happen overnight. So within a day or two we need to close them. So that is where it requires a lot of precision. Also, we need to make sure that our documents are such that tomorrow when bidders need to participate, there is no ambiguity, so that tomorrow, so that it does not work to the detriment of the authority, and the maximum participation of bidders is also at the same time stimulated. So we need to balance both those two aspects.
Okay, so here are you saying that most of the time you have to work on behalf of a government authority, or you work
Uh,
also? private projects?
So I mean, it works both ways for government as well as for private clients. But here at Advaita, majorly I have dealt with government clients where the projects are implemented on PPP basis, that is public private partnership basis.
Okay, so you represent the government and help them to come up with the right kind of documentation and bill.
Right, 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 right. So they
Project reading both happens in the right way.
right, exactly, exactly.
Okay. So, what else does a project lawyer does? Like, projects law, like we have heard this term that I'm a projects lawyer. So
Right.
apart from documents and concession agreements, what else do a projects lawyer frequently work?
Okay, so as a projects lawyer, bid documents and concession agreements is definitely one a fundamental part of our scope of work. As a projects lawyer, you're also expected to have a strong grasp of the oil and gas sector, of the mining sector. So, because again, it'll be linked to the bidding process or otherwise, where the government is planning to maybe say start a new auction, or where the government is planning to allocate a mining lease to a particular entity, where they will approach us for our assistance in relation to the MMDR Act or the oil and, or the PNG rules or the Petroleum and Natural Gas Act, whether this is possible and whether this is viable under the extant regime. Apart from that, as a projects lawyer, you're also expected to. We've also done considerable bit in drafting legislations, such as such as the Maharashtra Water Resources Policy, where we've helped the government in drafting the policy for allocation of water, or it can be actually as far fetched as a copyright policy, which we've done for envisaging a licensing mechanism in relation to use of contents, in relation to the use of contents of an authority. So it's multidimensional, it's multifaceted, and a lot of laws come under the ambit of it, ranging from railways, ranging from Major Port Trust Act, ranging from Electricity Act to the MMDR Act, and so on and so forth.
Right. So, if you can tell us a bit about, what are the projects like? This is also dependent on how many projects are happening at any given point of time.
Right,
And I
right,
know that under the current government, there is a huge push towards huge, like a
right,
big
right,
infrastructure projects. So
right,
I'm guessing this is an area of law which is really thriving.
right.
But you can tell us a bit more about what kind of projects are really picking up these days in your experience. Like
Yes,
we keep hearing that solar projects are one major area where a
right,
lot of
right.
new work is happening. So if you can give us some ideas at that point.
Right. So, Ramanuj, you're absolutely right. In these past 5 years, the government has put great emphasis on infrastructure, and we keep hearing about it in all the budgets that have been held so far about push in infrastructure. So, to name a few that come to my mind is first is the smart cities project, definitely, because we have around 99 smart cities which are being implemented throughout the country, and the list keeps updating. So, smart cities across various states is one project that is of great emphasis. Apart from that, apart from that, there are projects on implementation of the insurance scheme, that is the Ayushman Bharat scheme, which is another government project that you'll hear a lot about. Apart from that, one important focus of the government has been skill development. So the project of skill development by NSDC is also one which is being implemented by the PPP route, is also another project where the infrastructure expertise lies. That is soft infrastructure. I can deal with that in the latter part. Apart from that, there are various projects such as implementation of the Sagarmala line or of the Bharatmala line, and development of, not to forget last, but I mean not the least, the very, very important is development of greenfield and brownfield airports across the country.
Right. So a lot of exciting infrastructure coming up in India.
Right,
Uh,
right, right.
how about the power project sector? Like we keep hearing that the power projects are many of them are non-performing assets and there's a huge
Uh,
pressure on them. So are we having new power projects coming up given that India has a lot of energy
Potential,
and
right,
growing?
right. As far as power projects is concerned, on one hand, while we keep hearing that some of them have gone the IBC route and there is a lot of dilemma, but on the other hand, as lawyers, we have seen a lot of work coming up in the power sector, especially the SPGS, which is the solar power generation sector, where there is a lot of work coming up. Apart from that, even the wind energy sector is one booming sector where we've provided a lot of advice on drafting of EPC contracts, of O&M contracts. So it looks, the future looks bright in this arena as well, and there's a lot of scope here.
Okay. So, what are the most important skills needed to be a projects lawyer? You've touched it, like, what are the traits before, but if you could tell us about, like, what are the hard skills and what are the soft skills
Right.
needed to be a projects lawyer? Like, if you want, I can give an example. Let's say
Mm-hmm.
somebody is going to be a in-house counsel, right?
Right.
You need to say some certain very specific things, like, you need to learn, for example, you need to do contract drafting and reviewing. You have to,
Right. Right.
draft various kind of contracts. You have to do compliances, certainly, like for your company, statutory
Right.
compliance, and so on. Like, there are certain things
Right.
depending on which sector,
Hmm.
sectoral things. But you can more or less say that these are the things you must be good at to be an
Right.
in-house counsel.
Right.
Or if you're going to be a projects lawyer, then what are the most important
Right.
knowledge and skills?
So, as a projects lawyer, I think, like I mentioned before, also the sine qua non will be a very, very strong grasp of the Contract Act and the Specific Relief Act. Contract Act definitely, because essentially it's all about project documentation, drafting of contracts. There'll be a lot of provisions of force majeure, of blacklisting, of conflict of interest, which will be coming into play, and there is an interplay of all of them. So, I mean, nothing can substitute a good knowledge of the Contracts Act. Apart from that, I think as a
A knowledge
projects,
of administrative law is also needed.
sorry, knowledge of.
Administrative law is also needed, given that so much government work is done.
So I think a knowledge of administrative law is something which, as a lawyer only, it's like indispensable, because we need to know, and obviously here it does come into picture, because that's where you will understand the concepts of delegated legislation, the concepts of bylaws, the concepts of what do you call rules and regulations. So definitely, your knowledge of administrative law cannot be substituted. Apart from that, I think as a projects lawyer, unlike a specialized field where we're supposed to know a particular section of the Income Tax Act or the Companies Act, here everything is quite multifaceted. So I think good analytical and interpretation skills are very, very important, which will only come if you keep reading case laws and judgments. As a projects lawyer, I also think you should be well apprised of the news that's happening, because of the newspaper articles and of the news that happens in the infrastructure space, because so many of these acts are constantly updated. There are ordinances, there are rules. For instance, if you see the Mining Act, right from the MMDR Act of 2015, which changed the scenario of the MMDR Act of 1957, every year we see rules for which have come into play. So I think keeping yourself updated with your laws, having a good knowledge of Contract Act, good analytical skills, and be prepared that there'll be extremely long working hours. So I think these four should just be on your fingertips if you want to succeed as a project lawyer.
Very interesting. So, now we'll come to the question that is the headline today with this question, that, what is the experience of shifting from an in-house role to a projects role where you are working as a lawyer in a law firm?
Right.
What's the fundamental change?
So I think as an in-house lawyer, you are constantly working with various functions of the business, such as there is close connection with finance, commercial, you are involved in drafting of and vetting of contracts. But as a lawyer in a law firm, you are involved Hello, hello.
Yeah, I can. Yeah,
Yeah,
I can see. And yeah, please continue.
yeah. So you are involved right from the inception of the project, which as a projects lawyer, sometimes we actually have to bid. So right from preparation of the bid document so that we get impaneled, or right from the inception of the project till the execution, which involves continuous follow up with the clients, attending client meetings, preparation of agreements, constantly modifying them, negotiating the terms and conditions, and at the end of the day, preparation of invoices and actually chasing the client for money. It takes a complete circle. So I think that's where the shift lies.
All right. So, what is like when you should like if you can tell us actually to give us a bit of more background, what sort of work were you doing at Vedanta? I think that'll help.
I'll actually, my journey as a projects lawyer, I would attribute it to Vedanta, because I got a college placement and I was working with the legal team, and Vedanta being a natural resources company, and Sesago Iron Ore dealing with iron ore. So there we were involved with a lot of corporate commercial matters. That is when the mining ban was lifted, and we were involved in the process of the second renewal of mining leases. That's where my interest for mining laws actually emanated. Apart from that, at Vedanta, we were doing, as I said, drafting of transportation agreements, offtake agreements, vetting of non-confidentiality agreements, preparation of guidelines for prevention of sexual harassment at workplaces. Apart from that, doing the regular compliance work which an in-house lawyer is supposed to do, such as maintaining the MIS of litigations, updating the business about critical litigations, and assisting and liaising with counsels for your various matters. And that was my typical work life for the first year at Vedanta, where I was working.
All right. And so when you shifted to Vedanta, I'm sure your day kind of changed, right? The kind of things you do in the whole day probably changed a lot. So what was the major change?
So first of all, it was a major change of city. I was working in Goa, and after that, I moved to Mumbai.
Yeah, it's a big change.
So it was
Yeah.
obviously we had a 9 to 6 job, being an in-house lawyer, how it is, and it was more of liaising with advocates and getting our renewals done. Whereas when I moved to a law firm, which was more of a startup law firm, we that is where we started working with drafting agreements from scratch, making negotiations with parties, and preparation of advisory and briefing senior counsels for preparation of opinions and advisory. And obviously, when I moved to Advaita, it later on moved to a more full-fledged infrastructure lawyer role, where we've spent sleepless nights over drafting of agreements and preparation of bid documents, and closing the transactions in like 2-3 days. So that's where the shift took place.
All right. So, I mean, that sounds like quite a lot of hardship in terms of when you work in a law firm, you are working overnight, and you are spending inordinate amounts of time. There's a lot more pressure. It seems like from how you describe it. So, just to understand, what made make this choice? Like, why work so harder? What's the motivation behind it?
So when I was in college, I had a conservative approach that I'm going to do moots, I'm going to do some internships, get a campus placement, have a job as an in-house counsel, and then rise through the ranks. But it was only when I actually started working, I realized my appetite for risk, and I thought, as a lawyer, I don't want to be confined into compartments, and I just thought that let's take this chance, and I had nothing to lose, so I just walked that path, and there has been no looking back since then.
Right. So, what do you enjoy the most? Like, you have shifted and you're working a lot more now, working much more harder. What do you enjoy the most about this new
So
time?
that is not to say that the job of an in-house counsel is any easy. I think that's a that's a wrong notion that we have it in our minds that the life is easier there. It's definitely not, because we are dealing with business, mainstream business, and we are answerable to all the actions that are being taken. But having said that, as right now, what I enjoy the most, I mean, apart from the drafting, I think what I enjoy the most would be advisory, which is, for instance, whenever a contentious question of law comes up, such as whether the mining leases can be transferred or whether a particular entity can be blacklisted for its actions, which involves a thorough research and which involves a thorough research, and we are a team who are constantly deliberating over it. We have it reviewed by our bosses, and eventually, when that deliverable rolls out, I think that is the most satisfying part of the job.
Right. So, okay. So, where, like, what's your plan going forward? Like, would you ever move back to in-house roles, or would you always want to work in law firm or go
So,
independent? But
I
what?
mean, when I started in house, I thought I'm going to retire from here, but it did not definitely turn out that way. So as of now, I haven't contemplated that decision. But one thing that is for sure is I'm going to be working in the projects and the energy sphere for sure. So be it as an in-house lawyer or as a law firm, but I would continue to be working in this field.
Got it. So, a lot of young people will be watching this, and they will be trying to think of, trying to assess, whether they should be working in project space. And to be
Right.
honest, there is very little quality information available about projects as a legal career, right? And
Right.
you hear a lot about, career in IP law, career in even media law, or
Right.
career as an M&A lawyer, or corporate lawyer, so called. But what is the life of a, like, what is the life of a lawyer?
Hello. 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 Hello.
What to be success?
Hello, Ramanuj, can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, please stay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lost
So,
you for a few seconds. Did you hear
okay,
my
okay.
question? I was asking,
Can you
you
please
know,
repeat your question?
I'll repeat that. So, what happens is that a lot of times, um, law students these days have a lot of information about, or young lawyers for that matter. If they want to get into arbitration or get into M&A or get into IP law or media
Right.
law, what their career can be like, and people have a sense of, what is success as an M&A lawyer. Like,
Right.
what does success look like as an M&A lawyer? What would you be doing,
Right.
you know, 10 years down the line as a successful M&A lawyer, or even an arbitrator or litigator for that matter? People have some idea, but I think projects as a career for a lawyer, what kind of opportunities are there long term, like, what is success? I mean, if you can throw some light on this, is what I'm saying.
First of all, yes, obviously, this is a very pertinent question because we are not taught these laws in college. This is something that only comes into play when you start working. But success as a projects lawyer, I think it all boils down to the fact that you're assisting the government, or even if it's a private sector client. We are involved in day-to-day drafting of regulations, policies, which actually come into play and affect our daily lives. How a city is working, such as we've all heard about Wi-Fi parks and solar panel rooftops and things like that. So otherwise, I think success as an M&A lawyer is it is like any other lawyer. Um, it obviously there is a great amount of satisfaction involved when you see your bid document being floated, and you see maximum bidder participation, and you see the best of the lot coming into picture and delivering value. I think that's where the success lies.
Right. So if if I'm somebody interested in working in project space,
Right,
then if I'm a young lawyer and I'm trying to figure out my career, what would be
right.
your advice? What are the best places to work for if you want to be a project lawyer
Sorry, what are the best places?
in India to work for if you want to be a project lawyer?
So,
So maybe you can give us top five or top 10, whatever.
okay, so I think in terms of law firms as projects and infrastructure, if I can tell you, Trilegal has got a good projects practice. Apart from that, HSA, that is Hemant Sai Associates, is very, very famous for its projects practice. Link Legal has got a lot of private clients to its kitty and it's doing very well. Apart from that, obviously, I mean, Advaita Legal, where I am working, has got a commendable practice, and we have a lot of clients to our kitty. So these three, four firms. Apart from that, JSA has got a very strong regulatory and projects practice. So these four, five firms, I can tell you, are who are doing good in this space.
Okay. Apart from law firms, are there any other employers who are noteworthy or where people should aspire to work?
So definitely, I mean, law firms is just one bit of it. Apart from that, Vedanta is a mining resources company, a natural resources company rather. Then there is Traffic Guara. Then you have all these in-house, all these companies such as GMR, SR, and their various subsidiaries, which hire projects lawyer on a day-to-day basis.
So basically, any company which are involved in big infrastructure projects
Right,
would be
right.
interested in having a project plan to work.
Right, and apart from that, even there are a lot of private sector, sorry, the PSUs, which is the public sector undertakings, and government clients who keep rolling out applications for recruitments, such as the MMTC department in Delhi, or the SAIL or ONGC, which I think happens through CLAT. But otherwise, also there are a lot of PSUs which have a requirement of lawyers.
Okay. So apart from recruiting junior lawyers through CLAD, do they recruit senior lawyers who have experience?
So I think as far as there are only four companies that hire through CLAD, which is one is ONGC, then there is SAIL, and there are two more companies. There is obviously GAIL. Apart from that, there are like I said, other companies such as MMTC, NSDC, which keep hiring lawyers and which do not require CLAD degree or CLAD qualification. Hello.
All right. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So, okay, so now I was asking that, let's say somebody has 4, 5, or 10 years of experience. Do
Right.
they get do they get frequently hired by government companies and PSUs?
I think yes, there is tremendous scope, and apart from that, government also hires consultants for such kind of jobs. For instance, Ministry of Finance, Department of Economic Affairs also keep rolling out job opportunities for people who've got 5, 6 years of experience with experience in finance or experience in drafting of project documents. So I think there is a lot of scope in this space.
All right. So basically, the three type of employers that I could understand. One is there are projects, law firms with project practices, and
Right,
then there are like companies which have major projects going on. Could be mining projects, could be airport
right,
projects,
right,
could be like railways or roadways or something like any major project,
right.
electricity project. They will also require project lawyers, and also at the same time, you say government is hiring a lot of project lawyers in PSUs as well as in places like Ministry of Finance and maybe NITI Aayog and these kind of places. They would require projects lawyers to guide them,
Right,
right?
right, right.
So,
That's right.
so any other employers, or this is more or less the scope of
I think this is
the
more or less that covers it, covers the how your experience as a project lawyer is involved. Apart from that, I think Big Fours also have, because they're also into a lot of infrastructure projects. They also keep hiring lawyers on a regular basis.
Right. So you have also big four accountancy firms who hire
Right,
lawyers in this.
right,
So I'm guessing even consultancy companies, like any consultancy, management
right.
consultant. Great. So this is very useful information. Let's say if I am a young lawyer or I'm a law student and I want to get into this area of law. So one
Right,
is that of course you join a place and then you start learning. But to increase my likelihood of getting hired, if I want to develop some expertise in these areas of laws,
right.
what can I
Hmm.
do? Like what are the things I can start studying while I'm in law school? Maybe I'm a litigator in Delhi and I don't know much about projects, but I want to learn and want to get into it. What would be your advice? Like, how can I get started? How can I develop some expertise in this before I start applying?
So I think if you're a law student, the best way is to start interning, because that's where the team understands your depth and your dynamism for work and for thinking out of the box and putting in the desired number of hours, whatever it is. So I think because that's how a lot of recruitments also happen, and that's the best way of evaluation for a particular person. So I think if you're interested in making a career in infrastructure laws, the best way is to make an entry into a law firm or a company, however looks good for you, and start interning. Apart from that, apart from that, since these subjects are not taught in the law school, I would say that writing research papers would be the next way out. For instance, in the energy space, the college that is in Dehradun, UPS, has got a lot of research papers on energy. Or otherwise, wherever you come across a good opportunity, I think it's good to start reading, analyzing, and writing stuff on this particular area, because this will involve a lot of research on constitution, administrative law, contracts, and obviously the particular statute you're dealing with. So I think that these are the 2-3 ways out for you to develop a career in infrastructure laws.
Right. So what I gather is that there are not too many great ways to learn about the project laws, and there is no proper training method yet. So everybody is learning it by working on live projects through the seniors.
Yeah, at least during my time, 4 years back when I graduated, it I did not come across as in of a course as such. I don't know if something has now been developed. If it has been, I think it's great.
Yeah, no, I am not aware of any course, but I
Right,
think it's an infrastructure law is something that absolutely requires some attention from academicians, and even I think we are going to we're planning this, to start some courses around this. We don't have it, but we
okay,
plan to do something around it.
okay, that's
Have
great.
so I mean, we are bringing on the right, some waiting for the right kind of people to come on board to work with us on this. If
Okay,
anybody by chance is hearing this and wants to help us to build a great curriculum around projects and infrastructure practice within the
right,
team.
right.
So, okay, so that's quite a bit of very high quality information that we shared about what kind of practice projects practice is, and you have also told us what kind of skills are needed to be a project lawyer, and you have told us how to go about building a
Right,
career around.
right.
You can tell us some of the very interesting issues that are arising in projects laws these days. Like, what are the
Sorry,
two
some of the interesting.
some of the interesting issues that are arising in the project law practice? Like, what are the hotly debated issues in project practice these days? If you can give us 2-3 examples, I think that will give people a wholesome idea of how what kind of legal issues people deal with in projects.
So, I mean, it's always brimming with something or the other, but I think the first one, which we are also right now, I mean, which is extremely relevant also, is the coal block auction, where the government has recently opened doors to commercial as well as captive coal block auction. So that will require an analysis of the Coal Mine Special Provisions Act as well as the rules framed thereunder. So that is a very interesting issue that I can think of right now. Apart from that, the Electricity Act is also coming up with various amendments, and there are there are a lot of challenges in the Electricity Act which are being analyzed. Apart from that, I think airport sector is one which is posing a great amount of potential because of the government's strategy to have another airport at Jewar Airport, and where the government is, I think all of us must be aware of the national airport strategy, which the government is recently talking about, where determination of tariff is also becoming an interesting issue, where they are considering the amendment to the AI Act and the ERA Act. So I think these two, three issues are right now of great relevance in the industry.
Alright. So, are there any further specializations that happen? Like, do people specialize further within projects domain? Like, is it like do people like specialize only in electricity or only in oil and gas, or do this kind of is it common to have such specialization?
So I think, I mean, there could be if you want to become a specialist, but I think the infrastructure industry and the is itself so niche that if you, I mean, if you have a thorough understanding of all the laws, it will be good for you because more so if you're working as a law firm, or you want to someday start your own practice, because that way you'll be able to cater to a gamut of laws and to a gamut of clients. You'll also have in maybe an airport player, you'll also have somebody in the railways, you'll also have a government client, you'll also have a private client wanting to set up a solar based power plant. So I think, and that's how we've been trained. So I think, and that's how an infrastructure practice works, where you are obviously there could be people who are specializing in a particular law, such as aviation, maybe, or oil and gas, but a holistic view of all these of all the laws would be an added advantage.
Alright. So, can you tell us a little about financing of projects, because project finance is also an emerging area. So,
Right, right.
do you practice those things also, or do some other set of lawyers do this, or is it that project lawyers also handle projects?
No, no. So obviously, project financing is also one important aspect of become of a projects lawyer, and we're also considerably involved in that. So here you have the common loan agreement, you have the lenders agreement, you have the security trust agreements. So you have to basically draft and vet those agreements in a way so that you achieve closure of the transaction, and what happens in the event of default or termination. So obviously we are working in that sphere also. So project financing is also one important aspect of projects lawyer, but this is one specialization where if you're also I mean one is of a pure play typical projects lawyer, where you're more involved in drafting of project documents. This is also another sphere of law, another what do you call stream, and this is also extremely relevant.
Okay. So, what kind of work do you do in project finance? Like you told us a little bit about the project work, but
Right,
you didn't tell us anything about
right.
so you can give us some idea.
So in terms of project financing, what happens is uh, if there is an existing project where they had pegged a particular amount of how their expenditures are going to be, and they had pegged that the closure is going to be in this way, but but they have done a revised estimate of the project, and they think that their what do you call financial costs are going to significantly increase or decrease. That's where these documents come into picture, where you execute the common loan agreement, or you have a substituted and an amended common loan agreement, and pursuant to that you have a debenture trust agreement or a security trust agreement, and then those modifications are to be mapped with your project documents, so you again need to finalize them. So that's how typically a project financing deal works.
All right. So, if you can tell us a bit about what's the kind of cities where most of the law firms are there, and we understand that there's a for technology law you go to either you prefer Bangalore. If you are going
Mm-hmm.
to practice
Mm-hmm.
securities law, that Bombay is the city. So
Hmm.
for projects and project finance and infrastructure law, is there such any citadels of law practice, or is it that
I,
all of everywhere?
So I don't think it is city specific, because unlike Mumbai, where a lot of media firms are hosted, in case of a projects lawyer, there are good law firms in Mumbai, Delhi. Apart from that, Bangalore and Hyderabad are also, I mean, firms which have their offices in Bangalore and Hyderabad are also setting up or already have a considerable good projects practice. Apart from that, I think Ahmedabad and Kolkata would also have a few firms. So I don't think it's city specific. It works like any other law firm, like Mumbai, Delhi, followed by a Bangalore, Hyderabad, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, but these are the few cities where there is project. I don't think there's any significant projects practice in Kochi or like Chennai. I mean, at least I
I
haven't.
think Chennai should have some.
All right, but significantly less. Like where so what happens is that when people are preparing for a certain career,
Right,
sometimes
right,
they have a city on mind. Like
right, right,
I talk to every day to students. Some say that I don't want to leave Hyderabad. So
right,
can
right,
I do media law in Hyderabad? So it
right,
becomes that kind of a question. Yes, you can
right,
do media law in Hyderabad also.
right,
There is some media law work, but it's
right,
more likely that you will get a job if you're a media law specialist, or
right,
with much better paid job than you.
right,
So that's from that perspective I'm asking. Or somebody today morning told me that I want to learn capital markets and securities. So I said, are you
right,
ready to relocate from Calcutta to Delhi? And he was like,
right.
no, I want to stay in Calcutta. I said, well, then you should rethink your plan of studying capital markets law.
Right, right.
So,
So I think at the outset of your career, Delhi or Mumbai have the best project practices. But after that, as you grow further in the profession and as you build your own clients, and because with infrastructure, unlike the work is across a lot of tier two and tier three cities such as Bhubaneswar or Raipur or Bhopal or Nashik. So if you've got your own clients, then definitely you can relocate or you can even freelance. But I think at the beginning of your career, for a good holistic growth, Delhi or Mumbai would be good. Hello.
right, you would say, right?
Yeah.
Not hear you for a moment. Yeah, can you hear me, Pooja?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
Sorry, we couldn't hear the last things you said. If you could repeat.
So I just said that at the beginning of your career, Delhi and Mumbai have good firms that have a good infrastructure practice. But since these projects are also developed across a lot of tier two and tier three cities such as Bhubaneswar, Raipur, Gandhinagar, or Nashik, so you can definitely relocate. But at the outset, it's good to be in a Delhi or a Mumbai.
Right. I think that is a pretty practical advice.
Right.
So, I so in India, where do you see projects practice and project infrastructure? It's not really, cannot probably say that it's a very popular with law students or
Yeah.
lawyers. Mostly
Mm-hmm.
people haven't heard of it,
Right.
but it is not as niche either. Like there are a huge number of lawyers
Right.
working on. Yeah, I believe. When I was in trilegal, I was surprised. I never heard of projects practice before I was already working in trilegal. And
Right.
then one
Right.
day I discovered that there is this projects team. And then it turned
Right.
out,
Hmm.
at that point of time, in my estimation, which I didn't, I don't have the exact numbers, but in my
Hmm.
estimation, we would say that one third of trilegal, the entire team strength was in projects. And I was
Right. Right.
shocked that,
Right.
this
Right.
practice. So from
Right.
that perspective, why do you think there is such a lack of understanding or lack of discussion around projects practical, lack of awareness of
Right.
project and infrastructure career options? I
So
mean, do
I
you
think
have any idea?
when even I was a law student, I hadn't heard of anything called a projects practice. I only knew about securities, media, taxation, or corporate. So I'm also, I mean, when I came here, I was taken by surprise. So I think one reason could be because these laws are never taught in law school, so we do not have much inclination about an existence, whether this practice is, whether how good this practice is. Also, as a lawyer, as a law student, when you study a particular law, you get inclined to a particular law, as in you kind of make a broad choice whether you want to be a corporate lawyer or you want to work as a litigator. So that way, because you've never learned them, you've never heard of them, you are as clueless as it gets. Apart from that, I think it does not sound as glamorous, maybe because as a corporate lawyer, we hear that we're sitting with the CEOs and closing deals, and or as a litigating lawyer, we are arguing before the Supreme Court, getting a relief of 10 crores or so. You do not hear such things usually about a projects lawyer. So I think maybe because of that, there is a lack of awareness about this stream. But we should definitely burn those bridges.
Alright. So, what's your opinion? Like, you just want to know, like, this is in the interest of the people who want to work in this. What kind of money can you make as a project lawyer in different spaces, like maybe in companies and in-house counsel, law firms, and partners, or at an entry level? If you can, I'm not asking for any exact numbers, but
Right, right.
ballpark can say as to
I
how much.
So I think there is no distinction if you enter into a law firm that a corporate lawyer is going to be paid higher or lesser than a projects lawyer. It all depends upon how good that practice is, how much business is it getting, and it eventually depends upon your performance. So it will be so you will be compensated as per the firm standards and obviously your own performance and your team's performance.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, but if you can give us some numbers in terms of like, what big law firms pay and what,
So I think the big six would
maybe,
start, any projects lawyer would start at 14, 15 lakhs, just how any other corporate lawyer, maybe a corporate lawyer gets slightly more, but usually you start with 14, 15 lakhs in big six. So that's how the numbers keep, changing as you move higher or lower the hierarchy of the law firms. And obviously, if you have been in a law firm for a considerable time as a projects lawyer and then you move in house as a general counsel, because obviously your experience, if you have experience as a projects lawyer, you'll have an advantage over a non projects lawyer. So I think it'll be a good remuneration.
any numbers again. We just want a ballpark. We don't need any specific.
So, like
Uh,
I said, because I didn't start my career myself as a projects lawyer, so I can't, tell you how much would a law firm pay. But a big six would pay somewhere around 14 to 15 lakhs per annum. Tier two and a tier three firm will pay you between maybe 7 to 11 or 12 lakhs when you start your career.
so what I hear from my network is that an in-house counsel in the project space, in a power company or mining company can easily draw something between 2 to 5 lakhs per month as a
Okay,
compensation.
that is
So
at what level?
this is like I'm talking about senior associates and like people who have just
Right,
didn't make partner at trial, like people I know who have shifted to
right, right,
these
right, right,
what kind of remuneration they're going. If somebody who could have made a partner in a law firm but is
right, right,
working
right, right,
in a
right, right.
as counsel would easily draw 5 lakhs
Yeah, yeah.
or
I think your understanding is correct. That's the minimum, or that's an average figure that a partner would draw.
right. So I think that's very useful information. Thank you so much, Pooja. We
Thank
are
you so
going
much.
to session to an end because it's almost 5 minutes. We have 2 minutes left. But
Okay.
before we leave you, we just want to ask you if you have any parting message for those people who are the brave people who will take a step towards working in project infrastructure and project finance space. If you have any final message for them.
I think you should not underestimate the power of a projects and infrastructure lawyer, because the kind of work that you will get is going to be very, very multidimensional. And if not anything, you learn how to analyze and interpret laws, because you'll not be specializing over one particular law. So it's going to be the growth is going to be tremendous. And right now, I think infrastructure India is poised towards a great infrastructure boom. So the scope here is tremendous, and definitely sky is the limit.
All right, that's very positive, and we definitely believe that India's is really need a lot of infrastructure to succeed as a country, to succeed as an economy,
Right.
and to like projects and infrastructure. Lawyers are the people who are greasing the machine of infrastructure coming up and ensuring. that things
Right.
are happening in a fair, ensuring that all the coal scams and TV scams do not repeat themselves in India, because
Right.
those are the worst.
Definitely.
Right? It really crushes the confidence of the entire country into everything
Right.
else.
Right.
So
Right.
the project lawyers are the people who are really keeping this running and improving the system and making sure that these projects are happening in the right way, going to the right bidders, and that everything is happening in a fair way. I think that's a really commendable and important role in India's economy and
Definitely.
yeah. So I think there is a lot of scope in this, a lot of opportunity, and a lot of
Right.
opportunity to make a serious contribution to the country and also to the economy and to people around us. So
Right.
with that message, thank you everybody. Thank you for listening to an hour with Losiko. And Pooja, thank you for coming. We hope to
Thank you so
have
much.
you another day, and maybe we'll like to talk about mining laws or another law that are expert on.
Definitely.
And we look forward to having you again. And all those who watched, please subscribe to the channel uh, because we keep having an hour with lots of new videos now and then. We wouldn't want to miss any video if you are interested in law as a career or interested in learning new areas of law. Definitely subscribe. Hope to see you tomorrow again. No, tomorrow is actually Sunday. On Sunday we don't have any session, so we hope to see you on Monday again, 8 to 9 p.m. And definitely have a great weekend. All the best. Take care, everybody.